spearheading 100 years ago an American dominance in trade in Asia. His line was promoting an explosion of trade into Asia, while the three government-sponsored lines were sinking into corruption. I ask you, have you ever heard of this guy? I mean, that's one of our major problems today is foreign trade. But the congressmen at the time, being intelligent men and college-educated, realized as great as Hill was, he was making it difficult for them to justify their own jobs. So they went on to pass the ICC and the Sherman antitrust legislation, which enabled them to get in and heavily regulate and punish the railroads. Those regulations for the public good made it illegal for railroads to make any special deals for customers. They had to charge the same standard rate to all customers. Therefore, the Neothink dynamics Hill used to build up his railroad, to move in people for free, to make their dreams come true, to ship their freight for free or for a low cost until they got established was now illegal. Those same dynamics that he was now using to spearhead an American dominance in trade in Asia were now all illegal. Hill was a genius of society who was pushing up ordinary, even poor Americans into prosperity. And wham! Big government regulations smashed him down. Hill's drive into Asia was over. The year after the ICC's legislation passed, America's trade with Japan alone dropped by 40%. Hill was forced to sell everything. He got out of trade completely with Asia, and he was so frustrated he retired. Suddenly, the miracle was over. He could no longer make ordinary and poor people wealthy and healthy. Now, this is an example of just what one genius of society can do for everyone. Just imagine, like Larry was saying, what 100 million geniuses of society could do. 100 million James J. Hills.
NTR. Neothink Radio Network. Visit neothinkradio.com.
You're listening to NTR Neothink Radio. This is Steve Fagan, and we will be right back.
Where can you find like-minded people that are getting together to bring real change to our world? The Neothink Society. Join others in political, educational, spiritual, and business change. It's a new way of thinking, my friends. It's Neothink. Visit neothink.com or phone member services at 1-800-480-2336. That's 1-800-480-2336. Or visit neothink.com.
We're the party for the people, for the man in the streets.
This is Raymond from Ontario, Canada, and I support the 12 Visions Party.
This is Ogden from Oklahoma. I support the 12 Visions Party also.
This is Bruce from Madras, Oregon, and I also support the 12 Visions Party.
This is Macy from Georgia, and I also support the 12 Visions Party.
And this is Doc from Florida. I support the Global 12 Visions Party.
Yes, hello. This is Renee from Ohio, and I support the Global 12 Visions Party.
It is Ronnie from Florida, and I support the 12 Visions Party also.
This is Bruce from Madras, Oregon, and I am the 12 Visions Party.
This is Elaine, and I'm from Arkansas, and I support the 12 Visions Party.
This is Bill from New Jersey, and I am the 12 Visions Party.
I'm under the stars in Toronto, Canada. I support the 12 Visions Party.
Will Swanson, Central Pennsylvania. I support the 12 Visions Party.
My name is Rusty Sweet from Sioux City, Iowa, and I am the 12 Visions Party.
This is John from Connecticut, and I am the 12 Visions Party.
This is Jeff from Oregon, and I am the 12 Visions Party.
This portion of the show brought to you by Neothink Music with Jeffrey Smith. Visit ntrtalk.com and link to our music sponsor, Neothink Music.
How the 12 Visions Party is not full of politicians, and the 12 Visions Party is not another political party.
Yeah!
Thank you. That's right, the 12 Visions Party is not another political party.
NTR. Neothink Radio Network. Visit neothinkradio.com. Up next, the Transcontinental Railroad, founder James J. Hill, and how government control suppressed this genius of our society, told by 12 Vision's party officer, Mr. Loren Taylor.
During America's railroad building boom in the 1860s, an opportunity arose for big government. The political entrepreneurs seeking easy money got together with career politicians seeking popularity, and together they created a deception. The deception was that only the government could finance the building of America's first transcontinental railroad. That deception over 100 years ago is still promoted today. I mean, I remember that in my textbooks. Children read about it in their history textbooks in school. But that was a deception created by political entrepreneurs so they could line their pockets with lavish government subsidies, and by career politicians so they could boost their self-worth by spending money they controlled but did not earn. They could parade around and say, "Look how important we are. Look how we benefit the American public. We, the big government, are building the Transcontinental Railroad and opening up the interior and west coast of America." A perfect setup for greedy political entrepreneurs joining hands with power-seeking politicians. So, a deception was created. Only the federal government could finance the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. The public bought it, and with great fanfare, Congress went ahead with it. There were two companies. Central Pacific started building eastward from the west coast, and the Union Pacific started westward from the east coast. The government paid those companies by the total miles of track they built. So what did they do? Instead of being bound by the disciplines of a bottom line, they were getting lavish subsidies from the government for the total miles of track they built. So they rushed into the wilderness to collect government subsidies. But because they were being paid by the mile, these companies purposely built the longest, most circuitous routes they could possibly justify so they could get more government money. And they rushed construction to collect their per-mile subsidies. They rushed into the wilderness with poor construction and poor planning. Remember, the congressmen were spending money that they did not earn but controlled, and they wanted to reap the glory for spending that money. Those politicians always trying to justify their jobs, always trying to show that they benefit the American public, got into the railroad business where they had no business being in the first place, controlling tremendous amounts of money they did not earn. They reaped all the popularity that comes with spending money. Now they could say, "Look how valuable we are. We're financing the building of a transcontinental railroad across America." But those career politicians were part of bogus big government. They gladly spent money with their flashy good intentions, but they were not interested in exerting the nitty-gritty effort that honest business does when it spends money. They were glad to spend the money, large amounts of money. They were glad to reap the glory, large amounts of glory. But they were not about to get out there and exert the nitty-gritty effort to put controls on spending and to make sure that money was spent right. They were not about to get right down into the details themselves to make sure that they were buying the right quality goods at the right prices and that the railroad was being built over the right routes. Not like a market businessman who was spending the money out of his own pocket. So the whole program was laced with fraud from the beginning. The line managers set up their own supplier companies selling their railroad substandard quality rails and ties at exorbitant prices, for there was no control over the government money. Now listen to this. This is a good one. In addition, because they were getting paid by the amount of rail they built, each company was racing to build as much track as it could before the other one to get the most money from the government. So instead of taking the proper time to carefully map out the best routes, especially vital for building over hills at the lowest uphill grade, they instead just raced forward and paid no attention to vital planning and surveying. No time to be wasted on planning and surveying. They built track over uphill grades that were far too steep. They did not take the necessary time to do anything right. When winter came, they just kept on building over the plains, right over the ice. Because they wanted to build as much as possible, they did not wait for the ice to melt. They just kept on laying track. When summer came, they had to